Hey, it's Joe yet again, and this is the interior build for the 70s Wright-ish house. It's based on the 70s style, so everything is a lovely, pukey avocado, although the greens in the game actually are not too bad. And then lots of browns, some orange, which I do like, and then of course beige. The main bedroom is very girly. So here we go, starting to lay down some floors. I decided to go with a plain wooden floor throughout most of the house. It would just keep some sort of unified theme, because each room is going to be very brightly colored and very different. First I thought I'd put all these pendant lights down, but then I thought, it's a bit too much. You never use that many of them. It's typical over decorated. So I deleted them all and just put down some simple downlighters. In retrospect, I probably could have used a few more dramatic chandeliers. There are one or two very sort of 70s style chandeliers, but to keep the speed, keep the build from getting too long, it's best to just show you what can be done, and then in future you can always revisit the house and dress it up a bit. As you can see, the tree grows right into the house, which I then have to move at a later stage. But that's what the landscape artists are for. I did have some trouble here placing the lights over the staircase, because it tends to place it on the staircase because it's placing it on the lower level. Then you've got to somehow raise it up and get it to match. That is such a palaver. Why are the interior doors for The Sims just so ugly? At least in some of the previous games we had some very plain doors. So if you didn't, failing that, you just chose some very plain, simple doors. But anyway, we have to build with what's available. Now let's start in on the dining room. I wanted something sort of orangey, because I do like orange. And this is quite sort of modern, but it lends itself to that sort of 70s period, which was really a copy from the early 20th century style for the most part. There wasn't really all that much unique in the 70s other than, I suppose, disco and really, really large bell bottoms that were left over from the 60s. I thought that couch might look quite interesting, and it is sort of borderline 60s and 70s. However, I didn't like it very much and ended up changing it. I then went for a really large TV, which of course I didn't realize at a later stage this wouldn't exist in the 70s. You just wouldn't have this sort of modern appliances. So at a later stage I move it off into the family room and hide it away. So that people come in, they don't see any sign of modernity past the 70s. I was looking for chairs. I hate sort of overly matchy furniture, so I like to mix and match. And those chairs tend to be a little bit more 60s, but I suppose one could imagine that you had sort of some furniture left over from the 60s, and that you just used it in the 70s. The 70s is actually rather difficult, because there's no redeeming feature, and even the 80s weren't particularly elegant either. There's no actual style that one can actually attribute to the 70s per se, except these chocolates, chocolate browns, avocados, oranges, and then of course the beige. There were some blues used in the 70s, but largely this was the color palette that's associated with the period. I rather like this sculpture. It's kind of rough and almost oversized for the space. The one regret I have with this build is that the lounge is a little bit small, because in typical sort of budget, modest, middle-class family home, you actually come straight into the big open plan area, and there isn't really a proper entrance hall. So the little living room is actually smaller than it should have been. Possibly one could stretch the family room a bit further back and give it a couple of extra tiles, which I may revisit at a later stage. I found this wonderful round disc that just looked bizarre. It almost looks like a stylized peacock, so I thought that will go quite well over the mantle. Then I realized, you need the dining room table this large. You need a sideboard. However, there isn't space for a sideboard. If you put a sideboard on either side, I thought, great, massive paintings there would fill that wall up. But it didn't quite work, so I used two. And so I started looking for some end tables or something that I could actually use to create two side tables instead of one serving board for the dining room. That wall there turned out to be quite a nice feature wall, especially once I got rid of the TV. TVs were never that large in the 70s. And they probably actually would have been in the lounge, purely because it was so new and so novel that not everybody had them. There we go, and I'm trying side tables in the dining room, but just nothing fitted. And I didn't want anything too large, anything too sort of frilly and almost Victorian or whatever the style would be then. So that looked quite modern to me. It's a sort of 70s, almost stark modernism with a bit cubistic. And I thought, what is more 70s than a mirrored wall? Well, that door had to go because can't walk through a mirror. It's going to cause all sorts of health regulations, and the house will never get approved, and nobody will ever be able to move in. So the kitchen went back to only having one door. I was trying to find cabinets that would sort of look 70s. These are kind of 70s, really, I suppose. And then you'll see I just changed it several times because I just didn't like the look of it. So I was trying something else. The one big complaint I have with The Sims is that the cabinets just don't really match, and there aren't many variations. If it's either one or the other. If you go into the game settings and you turn off automatic cabinet and counter placement, then you can actually pick out a few of the corner pieces that are quite interesting. But there are a lot of, you see, like that one, but they're a lot more difficult to actually position because they don't line up and they don't snap properly. But I thought that this would just look a little bit better with some glass cabinetry and a couple of plates. I don't know why the fancy cabinetry is always kept for the corner pieces, which you can hardly see. So this kitchen goes through a lot of remodeling. The kitchen company I worked with will never come back. They threatened to kill me halfway through when I told them that I wanted to rip out the kitchen and just start over. There also aren't any really sort of 70s stoves, quite honestly. And I tried to find a nice extractor, but I couldn't find anything that would really fit. And even the green of the stove doesn't, and the appliances don't quite match, but at least it's sort of greenish, It's actually more 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, well, probably 50s or 60s in style. But anyway, we have to do with what we have, and that's the result. So I thought, what does a kitchen need? But more orange, and a dishwasher, of course. That dishwasher was moved to the edge because it just seems more logical there. And then some lighting. When all else fails and you don't know what kind of lighting to put in under cabinet lighting. Under eaves, under cabinet, under anything. It just lights up the whole house. And it's no problem at all. I thought we need some decoration. The problem with doing decoration in these builds is that it speeds up. Well, it doesn't speed up. It actually takes much longer to position them properly. And the videos get a hell of a lot bigger. So lots of moving around. And it's really quite boring to watch somebody just moving pot plants around. I was trying to build a laundry here, and I thought that they might snap in a bit like the dishwasher does, but they don't. So just called the kitchen company back, and they ripped out all the cupboards again and placed them in a new position. And everybody needs some laundry baskets, otherwise the machines don't work. A little bit of decoration, bric-a-brac. And of course, there go the kitchen cupboards again. And of course, it stacked by accident, and it wouldn't unstack, and I couldn't get it back onto the ground. So eventually, I just, ended up having to move everything around. So that's a really ugly laundry room. Fortunately, it's right in the back of the house. Nobody sees it. I thought I'd use some of these laundry items. I thought that the space is big enough to have a small little table, but there's no sort of real sort of Formica counters, Formica tables and chairs like we had. I think the Sims 1 had them, and they were so ugly and nobody wanted to use them. But I could have used them here, actually. This is the kids' room, and I was trying to find some posters sort of to just give it a bit of an indicative feel that this actually is a kids' room and not just like a spare bedroom. I do like the style of the dresses and those side tables. I actually ended up using them quite a bit purely because it sort of just goes with the style. Even though I suppose technically it's not quite 70s, it's sort of borderline. But most decades really they don't have a definitive, the deck doesn't roll over and suddenly it's a completely different style. So there's a lot of leeway when it comes to design. Could have been a bit more kiddish, but it would just make the videos far too long. And then this bathroom just didn't turn out very well. It was just dull. Eventually I just kept it very simple. And I thought the bath is sort of kind of, modest house that's been renovated, and they don't have any budget for expensive finishes, so it tends to sort of not be quite as finished as one would like. And of course we need more mirrors because it's a 70s house, so you can never have too many mirrors. And some bric-a-brac. I rather like the bric-a-brac. It tends to make the house look more lived in than just a sort of stark. The interesting thing about playing the game is that you discover items, or you remember items, when you're busy in another room, and you actually end up jumping back and forth between rooms, trying to place things as you see them. Think, oh, I haven't got that in the kitchen, and then you go back to the bathroom. So if it looks a bit erratic, it is. That's just the way my brain works. Then I decided, well, yeah, that backpack was the wrong color, so just quickly swap that out. The bathroom needs a little bit of decoration. I'm not so sure about those plants in there. They wouldn't get much light around the back. And this room was really just the brightest one. I decided to go full out and go yellow. But this would make it sort of quite a fun either guest bedroom or even a sort of older teenager. I wanted a nice big headboard for that. The room is really, see, there's the tree sticking through. And I've moved them out the way. I wanted this sort of really big and bold bedroom here. So that large headboard just makes the room. This one I didn't even bother to make a feature wall because the room is so large. I actually used that really bright wallpaper throughout. In most of the rooms I've just created one wall with really garish wallpaper, and then the rest is just a simple color, which is very 70s. What would actually be a lot of fun, and I may actually create a wallpaper pack, is that the 70s, and even into the 80s, we had these sort of really horrible stripes that you'd paint along the wall. You would have in teals and browns and beiges and really bizarre colors. But I suppose it's got some sort of retro feel to it. That might be quite fun. If I thought of it, I would have made the wallpapers for this house in particular. And there you go, the TV's been yanked out of the lounge and placed in the family room. Now the kids can watch TV and not ruin the 70s look of the lounge. I thought the jukebox was a nice touch. I do like the sideboard and the end table for this set. Yeah, for this particular type of style, it works well. There we are, tweaking the entrance. And got to wiggle things up a little bit because that's a family room, it's never perfect. Then I thought, well, we've got so much space here, we definitely need an outdoor room. And I decided to not put as many chairs with the table, simply because it just tends to start looking a little bit crowded. So I think six chairs around the table is enough. And now it's time for some lighting. This pool gave me quite a bit of trouble because it's so narrow. I was trying to get the lighting evenly on both sides, and it was just out of alignment. So it just spent a lot of time going backwards and forwards trying to get it right. But of course you won't see all of that. I just neatly cut it all out. And there they are. There's the lighting strips under the eaves. I like the way it sort of creates a glow around the house. Whoops, I forgot there's no roof there, so it's got to go upstairs. And just for burglars, we put them around the back of the house too. Then I thought, what would it look like if I had like a step, like a ladder effect of lighting going down there, which I thought turned out really well. And of course, immediately repeated that on the chimney. Yeah. Sometimes more is better. The last bit of lighting in the upstairs area. I decided to continue the red theme of that feature wall and the staircase up into the hall upstairs. I find if you're going to use bright colors, use them in an area where you walk through but don't live in. And this is a custom bookcase that I made out of a whole lot of different pieces, of course using move objects on and then intersecting them. Use the same desk as I used downstairs, but the chair's a little bit more comfortable. I'd imagine you'd probably run a home office from here, or a place where you spend a lot of time working. Tried a whole lot of different couches and chairs, but really sometimes the variety is just very limited. So I wanted something fairly elegant and classy. And of course the inevitable chess table. Here I'm making the walk-through wardrobe, which didn't turn out quite as well as I'd hoped. It needs to actually be a bit wider. Of course, remove the doors, put in a archway, and there you have it. And then of course the very girly pink bedroom and ensuite. Very, very pink. This would freak me out to have this in real life. I thought it was rather fun creating such a girly environment. Even the tiles are pink. I mean, you couldn't get more pink if you painted it over with nail polish. A few tiles, a few bric-a-brac. The wallpaper is actually rather interesting. I didn't seem to sort of really notice it before because I tend to avoid pink. And I suppose maybe it's just being a male architect. Pink just sort of doesn't do it for me. However, I should tell you that I actually have created a series of the steel roof sheeting, and I actually decided to throw some very bright colors. There's actually a very similar pink to this. So I'm contemplating creating a Barbie house just for kicks one day. I like the stylized forest wallpaper in the office with the blue accent wall. I think that works very well. Forgot to paint in some of the walls in the dressing area, so I did that. And then of course more pink. And there's still a tree poking through the wall there. It of course gets cut back. I thought of making dress tables from the suitcases, but then I thought, oh yeah, it's so overdone. And it wasn't really a 70s thing, so I thought, put it in the corner. That's the traveling luggage for this family. And then we get more of those sort of 60s, 70s styled side tables. I thought this corner couch is kind of out of place, but the pinks work quite well with the decor, so why not? There's another pink plant in the corner behind it. And I thought it needs something, some sort of ottoman or something. I actually like to put a chest in front of the bed or something you could put storage in. And then of course I realized I've got no mirrors in the bathroom down upstairs, so that's a bit of a nuisance, so quickly slap those on. And then rugs for this room is kind of difficult because it's not properly balanced, and you know, if you scale rugs up too much, they tend to look a bit odd. They tend to look like, you know, almost like raised platforms. These artwork actually, these two paintings worked quite well with the bedroom, and then some really odd alien 60s 70s lamps. And these, I thought, what if you could combine the two together to create like a stepped painting going up the stairs. A little bit more entertainment area outside, which is really cloned from downstairs. I wanted two oversized pots at the top, which will be visible from the bottom. There's your painting easel, so you can get up to some creative stuff. And I thought, well, since I don't have a lot of actual plants downstairs, and add some pot plants. Anyway, here's some screenshots of the finished house. I do hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough. And if you haven't watched the exterior or the tour for the house, do go watch that next. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the notifications bell icon to turn on notifications, and you'll be alerted to whenever I update this channel. Thank you so much for watching. And this completes the tour of the 70s Wright-ish house. I do hope you enjoy it and get some inspiration for your own 70s styled house. Oh, that is yellow.